Welcome back to A Call from the Stars, A Call to Arms, Chapter 13. Point of View. Commander of Recon Group 14, Captain Kliener. Our first contact when recovering these refugees was not what we expected. We received our initial warning approximately 4 seconds prior to them coming out of the FTL. At that point, they had not only come into normal space, but apparently had been on full burn. The engines were actually glowing hot, so much so that our sensors needed absolutely no calibration to pick them up. They were not going towards us at all. In actuality, they seemed to be heading towards Earth, which gave us a bit of a fright at the time. However, we did try to contact them, but before the message could go out, we had another ping on our radar saying that there was more ships incoming. We held position as we didn't even know if we had been spotted yet. At that point, 8 of the enemy ships came in behind that first flotilla of enemy ships. At this point, we held our position simply because we needed more information. After further scans, we realized that the first group was nothing but freighters, basically civilian ships from the enemy. They were of the same design, same alien design, so we knew it wasn't those who had tried to play us for fools by messing with our ships. However, we did know that these were designed strictly from those who would be our enemies and would take us out if they had the chance. The second flotilla that came in was strictly military aircraft. It was easy to tell after scans showed that there was minimal staffing, maximum engine, and weapons. However, we were a little surprised at the armor that was being used. At this point, our senior NCO had come in to get a firm grasp on the situation. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to fully brief him before we sent out our first message. We told them all to stand down. They're entering human space, and they will be fired on. To our surprise, the first flotilla actually turned immediately, which is surprising all of us that it didn't kill everybody inside, considering the high G turn that they did, and flew straight at us. This was enough to make all of our weapons officers get a little fidgety. Our XO was able to calm everything down as we looked over them and realized that the freighters that were coming didn't have more than point defense cannons on them. So they would have to get way closer than we would have to worry about. To our surprise again, we had a transmission come in from that first flotilla, which we had to translate. It was not the enemy language that we knew, and our translator would take approximately 1.5 minutes to translate it over. When we finally heard what it was nothing but screaming from female voices begging for help, saying that they are fleeing those that are chasing them. We couldn't just sit there and watch a whole bunch of ships full of women and children get blown apart. However, we still did not know if this was a ruse of some sort. So, I ordered everyone to target the enemy ships, but do not fire until fire upon. I remember looking up at my senior NCO, and he was dead eyes fixed on the screen. At this point, we sent out another message that says, if you are non-hostile, turn off your weapon systems, which took approximately 30 seconds, but the front flotilla did. However, the second flotilla seemed to be powering up weapon systems and also pushing their engines pretty much to their absolute limit. We sent out another message just to be sure to turn off their engines if they are truly non-hostile. At that point, the front flotilla shut off its weapons and went adrift, and that's when things got sporting. To our complete dismay and surprise, those behind them began to fire on those ships and us as well. One of the shots actually fired at us bounced off the hull right next to the bridge monitors. This was immediately responded to in kind by our primary railgun. It is of note that the enemy did not use any projectile weapons, missiles, torpedoes, slugs of any sort, but was strictly limited to energy weapons. The energy weapons, being far enough out, dispersed enough where they did not damage our hull except for a little bit of paint scratching. However, our railgun, as they had already entered our secondary envelope, was more than enough to split their ship in half. Seeing this happen, we noted that all of the rest of the warships had turned towards us and tried to close distance as soon as possible. As soon as they targeted us, I contacted the rest of the ships and told them to target the warships and the warships only. If they fire, you will take them all out of the sky. It was less than 10 seconds later before the first ship took a pot shot at one of our frigates. As we only have 2 of those plus my ship, this was a definite call to action. Without skipping a beat, the gunnery officers did exactly as they were trained, and they ripped those warships apart. A single smaller ship was able to dodge the incoming fire, at least most of it, as it turned and obviously was about to jump to FTL. This ship was a much smaller ship than the other ones, which is probably the only reason why we could not destroy it, at least not at that range. Had we launched missiles or torpedoes at it, it would not have been able to escape. However, not a single missile and or torpedo was launched out of my ship, and only a single volley of torpedoes was launched out of one of my frigates. It made the jump. However, we did actually end up touching it with one of the railguns, which was enough to blow off part of the armor as we found it later. Upon recovering the frigates that had called for help, we were put back at the site of our new associates. They look frail. They look very frail. Upon first inspection of their ship, we found out that many of them were emaciated, extremely dehydrated, and injured. This led many of our medical teams to exhaust our medical supplies in helping them. This including our guard unit, which used up most of their individual first aid kits patching up children. We are currently en route back to Proxima 3 for rearm and resupply. I request that medical staff be on standby, as we are unsure about any potential bacterial or virus infections from our new friends, and we'd like to get them checked before we allow them into the general population. This is Commander Kliener, signing off.